Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Ochsner. Thanks for joining us. This week we're sitting down with the experts from Boehringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Incorporated to talk about building a healthy foundation for your herd by understanding biosecurity risks and learning how to eliminate them. And joining us in the studio today are Dr. Mac Devon, Professional Services Veterinarian with Boehringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Incorporated, Dr. Bob Larson, Professor of Production Medicine at Kansas State University, Dr. Craig Payne, an Extension Veterinarian at the University of Missouri, and Kevin Johnson, Associate Professor of Ranch Management at Texas Christian University. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to the show today.
It's good to be here, Kevin.
You know, before we can get into the details of talking about how to build a biosecurity plan, it seems to me that we need to first understand how we define biosecurity. And so I guess, Dr. Larson, maybe let me begin with you. Give us a definition of what is biosecurity.
Okay. The way I define biosecurity is it's the set of things we do on a farm or ranch to keep the bacteria, viruses, and parasites that cause disease away from our herd to start with. But it also includes how do we prevent those agents, if they do get on the farm, from causing devastating losses. So how do we minimize their impact or minimize their spread once they're on the farm? So it really involves both prevention of ever allowing agents onto the operation and also limiting the damage that they do if they do get there.
And Dr. Payne, maybe you could tell us what steps can a person take to begin evaluating the level of risk that I might have on my operation?
Sure. Probably the most complicated part of putting together any biosecurity plan is assessing what all the risks may be. And so what I normally recommend for people that are wanting to put the plan together is to develop a biosecurity team. And that may include, of course, the owner and manager of the operation as well as its employees, but we also need to think about bringing in outside help. And one of those would be the herd veterinarian. We may also want to bring in an extension specialist, nutritionist. We may even want to bring in law enforcement to kind of help us assess perimeter security for that operation. And then once we have that team developed, then we can go through the process of trying to figure out what can go wrong in our operation and make us susceptible to having disease introduced or even transmitted within an operation if it's already there.
Are there any particular assessment tools available for people to use?
There are. Probably the one that I refer to the most, and others may have other material that they could allude to, but there was a program put together by the University of Nebraska in conjunction with Iowa State, Kansas State, and this material is available online. We'll help you walk through this process of biosecurity planning, and it can be found at farmandranchbiosecurity.com.
So what are the primary components of a sound biosecurity plan?
Let me use an acronym that I've heard Dr. D. Griffin from the University of Nebraska use before, and that acronym is ARITS, with A standing for assess. And what we're wanting to assess is, first of all, herd resistance or immunity. We also want to look at isolation and assess how we're isolating animals before we're introducing them into the herd. We're also wanting to assess traffic flow or traffic control in our operation, and that includes not only how animals and people and equipment are moving on and off our operation, but also how that movement is occurring within the operation. And then finally, we also want to think about and assess sanitation procedures that we may have in the operation or that we need to implement in the operation.
Very good. Kevin, Dr. Payne mentioned a whole team of people that should be involved in developing a plan. And I guess I would ask you a specific question. What role do you see the veterinarian playing in this process?
Well, it's imperative to have your veterinarian there because not only do they know the local problems that you have in your area, they should know and probably know what you have on your particular farm or ranch. And they'll also have a good grip on what's at a state level and a national level, just things that we should be looking out for. And they should have intimate details and knowledge of your operation that should help you set up the assessment and the plan.
Very good. Well, this is a great beginning of our conversation. I have a number of other questions I want to ask you, but we do have to go to break. Coming up next on this special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, we'll talk about ways to identify and eliminate biosecurity risks on your operation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.